Hi everyone and welcome to a new video with me, your queen Ophilia the Third. Today is a video about mangas that I do recommend to read. I was going to make a video about mangas to recommend for the summer with summer themes, but I stumbled upon making a list instead of unknown maybe or less known horror mangas that I do absolutely love and I think a lot more people should know about. So I have 7 mangas, some are pretty gory and 3 of them are not as gory, so I think I have something for everyone who's into horror. So let's go into the first one, shall we? Shwoosh! The very first book we have is Fraction by Shintarou Kago. It's a book that's not that thick. You can read it very fastly, you can read it in one day. I would recommend it to read it in the full, because that's what I did and that's how I enjoyed it. I love everything that Kago had made. I think everything is superb and it's just up my alley. It's very gory and is very known for making a lot of not safe for work imagery in the mangas that the author do. So I do recommend that or being very mindful of that when you get into the work of this author. But I love it and I like everything about it. This book, Fraction, we follow a serial killer and we get to see different scenes of murders and how the serial killer chops up his victims in different ways. And I don't want to spoil too much because I think this is the kind of manga that you have to discover yourself. But the manga is also based in 2 halves. The first half is the story about the serial killer. Then the second half you have an interview with Kago himself and smaller, shorter stories that's also like gems and really good. But my favorite is this one with the serial killer. I think it's very good, but be very mindful of the gore in the work and some nudity. So if that's too much, I would recommend maybe checking out another of the mangas that I'm going to talk about. The second one I have on my list is Madk or Madk by Ryo Suzuri. Madk is a spectacular manga. I love it, and it's perfect if you're into gory and violent horror genres. It also have boys love with 2 men being in love with each other, which is always nice because it's not, I feel like it's pretty rare in mangas or horror mangas, so to speak. But in this story we follow a guy called Makoto and he has a very twisted personality. He summons a really beautiful demon called Archduke. This demon tells him that he would grant one of his desires or wishes if he do it for exchanging it for his life. Makoto says that he's fine with that and they do this big bargain, but when the bargain is done, Makoto wakes up and he's reborn as a monster in hell. It has a lot of monsters, it has a lot of hell references, it has a lot of violence, and then we also have this romance between Makoto and the Archduke, which is a very nice one. I'm surprised not a lot more people know of this. I think it's a very famous story, but every time I talk to people who are into horror mangas, they don't read this one, so read it. Thirdly, we have PTSD Radio, Masaki Nakayama. This is a short story collection. It shows a bunch of horror stories related to old Japanese rituals in a town and how it gets affected by these kind of things. But in the end, we get to know that all the stories are kinda connected in one way or another. So it's kind of like cool to see how it progresses. But this is also like that kind of manga that you don't want to spoil it too much, because the best thing about this manga is the mystery on how all these shorter stories are related to each other. But I also like the fact that it has this old Japanese rituals theme to them, which is very cool, and I do really recommend it as well. It's not gory like the other ones have been so far. It's more to the creepy mystery kinda genre, so to speak. On number 4, we have Higanjima by Kōji Matsumoto. In this one, we have, for people who are into a lot of extremely graphical horror, again, I guess that's what I'm into myself, and that's why I have a lot of them on my list. It's very violent. It has a lot of gory scenes. It's a survival manga, also like a survival horror manga. It has that theme. It also have vampires, but not the sexy, good-looking vampires in Twilight, but more scary, don't want to come near them kind of vampires. We follow Akira, who gets stuck in this final battle between humans and vampires, and he and the rest of the humans have 47 days left until the whole of Japan will be swarmed with only vampires and they will take over, and what he has to do to survive and get out of there or stop it from happening is a pretty good one. I really liked it. I don't really like vampires, not in my normal books and not in mangas or any kind of fiction, but this one I made an exception for, and I'm really happy I did, because the story is actually progressing really, really well, and I really do the art style of it. So even if you're like me and you're against vampires, I think you'll still enjoy this one. On number 5, we have like a more not so gory, not so horror related, but it still have horror themes in it, and that's The Walking Cat by Tomo Kitaoka. And I feel like in The Walking Cat, it takes place in the fall of civilization. Zombies are freely roaming the remains of Earth, and we follow Yuki. It's a cat that has survived for a while, and it's because of the feline instincts that this cat has survived. But those the flesh-eating zombies were still relentless to this cat, and one day the cat Yuki finds a man, Jin, who also has survived all these zombies and the zombies attacking Earth. But this man, he believes that his wife is still alive, and he finds like a traveling companion in this cat. And it's very heartwarming, kind of sad, and I feel like the theme is, even if it's like a zombie manga and it's like a zombie horror related thing, and it's having the gore, like some zombies who eat zombies and stuff, you still have this heartwarming story of a man and a cat being best friends and taking care of each other and doing everything to survive together. So I feel like it's a very good book, and I think this manga is only one book. That, or it's 3, and I read an omnibus of the manga. I'm not really sure. It could be 3 volumes, or it could be like one huge one. But I do really recommend it. It's a really good story to it, especially if you're into cats. And I don't remember if it had much animal cruelty in it. I would say no, but at the same time, it's like a zombie survival story, and it does have zombies attacking the cat, so some cruelty it probably is. Yeah. On number 6, we have an older one by an author that I've been in love with recently, called Kanako Inuki. This book is called School Zone. This one I know is 3 volumes, and it's a series following a group of ordinary children, middle schoolers, I think, and they like navigate the ghost and the demon that's inhabiting the school during the nights. And even if you think that the story is going to be about like all these ghosts and stories and demons, and they have to like take care of how to survive from all these ghosts that in their school, I feel like it also focuses a lot about the children itself and the cruelty between the children and the cruelty between your classmates, and it kind of makes it difficult to, like, you know, you start questioning who's the actual monster in the end. Is it the ghosts and the demons that we see in this manga, or is it actually the children itself that's actually the people we should be fearsome of, or that we should be afraid of? Maybe it's not the ghost but the children and your classmates. It's a cool twist to it, and I really liked it. It's the art style is a bit different as well, like all Kanako Inuki's work, and I do recommend looking at Kanako Inuki's work if you're into deeper stories. I think I would want to say, like, it's not just like here we have a gory story and here we go into this full on, but here we have like everything has a purpose, I would say. Definitely. The 7th one is the last one. It's called Limit by Keiko Suenobu. I came across Keiko when I read their manga series called Life, which is about bullying. So when I found Limit, I bought the entire series without even knowing what it was about, and I'm really happy I did. I'm really happy I did. The story follows a couple of high schoolers. You get to see, like, you know, the normal cliques. You know, you have the popular kids who are rude to people. You have the nerds who are bullied. You have the sports people and everything. And they're all going on this trip, and they're going in a bus. But on their way, this bus crashes and goes down into like a ravine kind of thing, and almost everyone dies. But the people who survive have no way of getting out of there, and they have to try to survive a couple of nights or a couple of days and find food and mourn their classmates who have died in the accident. But they also have to stay civil with each other, because you have it's a revenge story. The bullied people who get, you know, up and they become the strong ones, and they decide to take over. It reminded me a little bit of Lord of the Flies. So if you're into that kind of things, I would say it's a really good story. Because suddenly the people who survived start to die, and nobody knows who it is, and they start pointing fingers at each other. And yeah, it's a really good story. I do recommend it, and I do like the art style. I feel like this is the least horror related, because it's not gory. It's not. It does have violence in it, but it's not like explicit extreme violence that you see like with the other ones. This is more low-key, but still really good, and I really do recommend it. It has that aesthetic and that psychological burn, you know, but I think it's leaning towards more the thriller side than the horror side. But I still think it's a really good recommend, and if not, it's a couple of teenagers trying to survive in the forest, and people starts dying. It's good, you know, and it's pretty good for summer as well, I would say. Thank you for watching, and I hope you got some good recommendations. And I hope you will have a wonderful summer, and you will go out in the sun, maybe have some tea, and read some really good mangas. If you have some good recommendations, please feel free to comment them down below, and I will check them out and hope we have a wonderful reading summer. Bye!